Gout Gout, 18 years old, world record holder. Australia's fastest sprinter ever at his age, he stepped onto the Diamond League stage for the first time, and the sport hit back hard. 6 days later, he lined up against his own mentor, the Olympic champion, with a world record on the line. What happened in those 6 days changed everything. By June 2026, Gout Gout had already done things no Australian sprinter had ever done. In February, he ran 10.00 seconds flat in Brisbane, setting a new Australian under-20 record in the 100 meters at just 18 years old. In April, he went to Sydney and ran 19.67 seconds in the 200 meters, becoming the first Australian man to break the 20-second barrier and setting a new world under-20 record that placed him 16th on the all-time global list. Those two performances had made him the most talked-about sprinter on the planet. He had already trained in Florida with Olympic 100-meter champion Noah Lyles under coach Lance Brauman. He had already signed with Adidas. He had already been compared to Usain Bolt so many times the comparisons had become routine. Now came the next test. The Diamond League, the senior circuit, the stage where the world's best compete against each other every week. On June 10th, Gout Gout made his Diamond League debut at the Bislett Games in Oslo, Norway, one of the oldest and most celebrated track meets on the calendar. He entered the men's 200-meter final as the year's world leader at the distance. His 19.67 from April, still the fastest 200 meters run by anyone on Earth in 2026. He walked into Bislett Stadium knowing the whole sport was watching. The 200-meter final in Oslo was framed as a generational showdown. On one side, Letsile Tebogo of Botswana, the reigning Olympic 200-meter champion, a man Gout had idolized since he first started racing. On the other, an 18-year-old who had never raced at this level before. In the hours before the gun, Gout was open about what he wanted. He told Olympics.com that he was in shape and ready to go. He said he imagined winning, the confidence was real, but the race did not go as planned. Gout struggled out of the blocks from the start. He could not recover. By the time the field straightened out for the final stretch, the gap was already too large. He finished 6th out of 8 runners, clocking 20.60 seconds, nearly a full second slower than his world-leading 19.67 from 2 months before. Tebogo won in 19.84. Sinesifo Dambile of South Africa took second in 20.12. Gout was 3 spots behind both of them. After the race, he did not deflect. He stood in front of the cameras and gave an honest answer. "Definitely not what I imagined," he said. "I imagined victory myself, but definitely can't be disappointed. It's my first Diamond League, so I'm going out here, having a bit of fun, and then getting back to training." The critics came immediately. Some pointed to the slow start as proof he was not ready for senior competition. Others questioned whether the wind-assisted conditions back in Sydney had inflated his times. The debate ran loud and fast across every athletics forums and social media channel. Here was the teenager who had been compared to Bolt and Lyles, finishing behind 5 men in his first professional race. The gap between his world-leading time of 19.67 and his Oslo result of 20.60 was nearly a full second. In the sprint world, that is a wide gap. But Gout Gout had been here before. The World Athletics Championships in Tokyo in 2025 ended without a final appearance too, when he finished 4th in his semi-final with a time of 20.36 seconds and missed the final by 1 position. He had already learned how to sit with a hard result, process it, and not let it define the next race. He got on a flight to the Czech Republic. 6 days after Oslo, Gout arrived in Ostrava for the Golden Spike meeting, a World Athletics Continental Tour Gold event. He had raced here once before, in June 2025 at age 17, winning the 200 meters in 20.02 seconds for what was then a personal best. The stadium had been kind to him before. This time, the race was different. Instead of a 200-meter sprint, the headline event was a 150 meters, a distance that is rarely run at elite level. The matchup the organizers had built was Gout Gout against Noah Lyles, the Olympic 100-meter champion, the 4-time world 200-meter champion, and the man who had been mentoring Gout through practice sessions in Florida. Lyles arrived in Ostrava already unbeaten outdoors in 2026, having won the 100 meters at the Rome Diamond League in 9.88 seconds earlier in the month. Lyles was also chasing a world best. The 150 meters is not contested often enough at elite level to carry an official world record. But the fastest recognized time on a curved track belonged to Jamaica's Kishane Thompson, who ran 14.92 seconds at the Miramar Invitational in Florida on April 4th. Before the race, Gout told the press he was ready for the showdown. "It's going to be a great race against me and Lyle," he said. "I've heard he's bringing the heat, so I'm going to be bringing the heat as well." The bounce-back confidence was visible. The question was whether the track would confirm it. The gun fired on June 16, 2026, at the 65th edition of the Ostrava Golden Spike. Lyles was dominant from the moment he came off the bend. He found another gear on the straight and pulled clear of the field with authority. When he crossed the line, the clock read 14.67 seconds, shattering Thompson's world best by 0.25 of a second. Lyles told Czech TV afterward, "Was there ever any doubt? Was there ever any doubt? We came for a show." Behind Lyles, South Africa's Sinisifo Dambile ran 14.78 seconds, a new African record and itself a time that would have broken the previous world best. And Gout Gout finished third in 14.96 seconds. A personal best, a new Australian national record, and a new world under 20 record. His time sat just 0.04 of a second outside what Thompson had run 2 months earlier to set the previous world best, the time that Lyles had just destroyed. 1 week after Oslo, Gout had come back and set 2 records, one for his country and one for every 18-year-old who had ever run the distance. He had raced against his mentor in a setting built for spectacle and delivered a performance that belonged on the same podium as a world best. After the race, he kept it simple. "Noah ran incredible, a world record in the 150, he said. "This is the race that I've been needing. Today I had an okay start, but I brought it home for sure." The Oslo and Ostrava results are 2 halves of the same story. Oslo served as a harsh introduction to the Diamond League, where the starts are faster and the field is far deeper than the circuit back home in Australia. Gout received that lesson publicly, but Ostrava proved he processes setbacks and responds. He did not retreat. He walked onto the same stage just days later against a global superstar and clocked the fastest time any athlete under 20 has ever run over 150 meters. Before Oslo, critics questioned if his Australian performances would translate. Gout answered by finishing on the podium behind Lyles, ahead of the rest of the field. Notably, he finished behind Sinisifo Dambile, one of the most consistent sprinters on the 2026 circuit, while leaving the remainder of the pack behind. The next chapter begins August 5th at the World Athletics Under-20 Championships in Eugene. Gout has bypassed the Commonwealth Games to focus entirely on junior world titles in the 200 meters and 4x400 relay.